are a little late, but as they say, better late than never. It is a Mike Giardi Tuesday. We're a whole 24 hours late. It's about one day after the Patriots kicked off. What was their 10th win in a row? So we are here to discuss that, and then we are going to go have our own bye week, much like the Patriots are. 5 days off in a row. When was the last time you had 5 days off in a row?
I can't even remember. I honestly,
if you thought Mike was grumpy on a Monday night, Mike Giardi on a Tuesday coming off a Monday night game is going to be the grumpiest you see. However, for now, this is the Path Interference podcast on the Clement, Chummy, and caroling. Might we soon be caroling CLNS Media Network?
We could. I have a great voice.
Okay, very good. Here's the deal today. Like I said, we're going to cover Pats Giants. We are going to zoom out and ask what message was sent last night, because that was my column. I think everyone watching a Monday Night Football watches the Patriots handle a bottom dweller in the NFC East 24 hours after the Broncos, the only other team pushing for the number 1 seed, barely survive against the backup quarterback in Washington when they're playing the Commanders. And I go, yeah, the Super Bowl might go through Foxborough again. But before I wrote that column, Mike, I made a pick that a lot of people have been reminding me of here on this podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I continue now to record in my mother's basement, which means I'm no longer a certified professional journalist, as we stay with my in-laws with the newborn. But I picked the Giants, and I own it, and it happened. And I heard Bob Socci say in the radio this morning he thought they might struggle last night, and I gave my explanation. I am not backing away from this clearly. I just thought maybe we could start with our segment that we typically end with, okay, let me have it, where you go and then I go, and the other guy just has to sit there and listen about how they screwed up. So you can go with that or any direction you want, and I will just sit here and you can let me have.
So that was like a preemptive. Like you could do some stupid stuff now for the next hour, and you think you're going to get by with just that because you're jumping the gun here with this one.
Yes.
Look, I totally understand where you were coming from. I think I wrote in my column, and I started off like if there was ever a time like you're tired, they're telling you they're tired, they're beat up, you're missing the whole left side of your line. Giants with a new DC, who knows what it's going to look like? They're going to empty the barrel on Monday Night Football, and then I think it was pretty much right after Marcus Jones ran back the kick. I was like, oh, well, that was a lot of worrying for nothing, right? Like that just took the wind out of the Giants' sails. And I know there were a couple moments that they could have made it a little closer in there, but yeah, this team is proving a lot of people wrong continually, week after week after week, including you and your stupid picks.
I was going to say, I almost made it out of there pretty cleanly. Didn't really have to take anything there. Look, the Marcus Jones touchdown obviously completely changed the trajectory of the game. In retrospect, in concert with a really clever offensive game plan, I thought that was multifaceted, and the way that you were plugging holes on both lines of the scrimmage, both sides of the line of scrimmage. Here we go. This is a great start on a Tuesday. Spoke to me in a way that this was a game where we would watch 10 years ago, and you would hear about the Patriots, obviously, in the middle of the dynasty. They're missing players. They could be upset. This is where they got. And they go, oh, no. We are resourceful in addition to talented and led by a great quarterback and well coached. And that resourcefulness with the roster and the coaching, to me, just gave me more confidence to, again, write that column that says the Super Bowl might go through Foxborough. And we all know the schedule. I just don't want to hear about the schedule, even with the Giants being 2-10, because that's the Lions about the Giants or the Packers or the Bears, who they all were taken to the brink by the Giants in the last 3 weeks. Patriots didn't come close to the brink. It started with Marcus Jones, and then Drake Maye does his thing, and now he's going to be MVP and all that. But that to me spoke loudest about this game. We can all talk about Drake and Marcus, but just the way they won on the margins and on special teams to complement those is what kept the Giants at arm's length at best for that entire second half when really nothing was going on.
I covered 1 million of these games for the better part of two decades with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and you're absolutely correct. Prime time, all the lights are on. You feel like, especially Patriot fans, feel like everybody's rooting against them. And, oh, well, we don't have our left tackle. We don't have our left guard. Like, what's this going to look like? Maybe certainly our best interior defensive lineman is still sidelined with a high ankle sprain of Milton Williams. And then people are singing, dancing, like just this whole thing that goes on. And they gave off that vibe. And I think when you ask me why they won the game, I'll tell you once again, start with the brain trust. He completely outclassed the New York Giants. Like, I'm running out of things to say about this team because they continue to change my expectations. And I've sort of been on the, like, yeah, they're really good. Like, I'm going to stop talking about the schedule and all these different things. And then they do something like this, where, as you said, you kind of felt like maybe they could get got. And no, they didn't come close to getting got.
Well, let me go back. What message did this send to you?
They're the real deal. They're the best team in the AFC. You know, we've actually been fortunate the last couple of weeks because of the way the schedule has worked, that we've gotten to see the NFL on Sundays that we sometimes can't do because we're working, and you know you catch up on games and highlights and all those different things during the course of the week, or on Sunday night when you're whatever, it's not even decompressing because you're still starting film study. But like that part of it is, you watch Denver and you go, yeah, the defense is good. It's like really good. It's probably not as good as Houston's defense though. And Bo Nix, I just don't believe. And they don't have a running game with J.K. Dobbins out. Like, that's been a problem for them. I like R.J. Harvey, but like, he's not been the bell cow, and Peyton hasn't trusted him to be that. So like, they're struggling in that regard. So yeah, I think you saw the Bills for a half look absolutely dreadful against Pittsburgh before they turned it on. We saw the Ravens lose. Like, you're just week in and week out, you start to look at the landscape of the league. And we've said this now for multiple weeks. I don't think there's a single great team in either conference. And so you're 11-2. You're the best in the AFC. You want to talk to me about Seattle? Do you fear Sam Darnold in a big game? Matthew Stafford, that's probably the other game. They just got popped by Carolina. Good game. Carolina better than we saw them in September, but like, it's Carolina.
The Rams would be my only choice for great team in the whole league. I mean, they were number one. It's either DVOA or EPA last week before they go to Carolina and be like, oh, well, Panthers have a winning record now. You want to guess how much the Rams were favored in that game ahead of Carolina?
6.5.
10.5. So you can't tell me that was a good loss. All of the contenders have bad losses except for two, the Patriots and the Broncos. And the Broncos, I think, have somehow managed to win their last 5 games by a combined 3 points. Mathematically, that should not work, but I'm pretty sure if you go check those box scores, that's what that adds up to, because of how close the margin has been in all of these games, including that game in Washington, all of which is to say, look, you know, the Patriots are on a 10-game winning streak, which also I don't think we spend enough time talking about because they haven't done this in 11 years. Yeah, 10, and nobody does this. The Broncos are on a 9-game winning streak. And the biggest difference between these two teams is at the top of the MVP odds, and his name is Drake Maye. So it just speaks to, even when they're down, that resourcefulness allows them to patch roster holes in a way that, again, I didn't believe that they would be able to do Monday night. And I wouldn't have faulted them for it. You get into the bye, you get rested, you refocus, you recover, and play the Bills. Speaking of Drake, though, because you mentioned something that I think people would find a little crazy, that people who work in the NFL media don't get a chance to watch when we get home. You know what Drake Maye asked me right before he left the locker room last night? Any good games on this weekend? Like, what? Yeah, actually. So I got to inform Drake. Steelers, Ravens, you know, Bills, Bengals, and Texans, Chiefs. I go, yeah, I think that's going to be, as they say, loser goes home game. He goes, no. Anyway, the season gets very myopic. It is fun to pick your head up out of what feels like bobbing for apples sometimes and look around and catch a breath and be like, okay, this is the landscape. And when you look at the landscape, the Patriots are at the top, whether they're hurt or they're not, and that makes a great team a great team. Okay, besides all that, why else did they win?
Well, I mean, I said it just a few seconds ago. I thought the coaching staff, like that was a masterclass and a deep pantsing to whatever they did to Mike Kafka and that staff.
Does it really count when Mike Kafka like undoes his belt and then brings his pants down to kind of like his knees, and he's like, just go ahead. When you punt in the third quarter like they did, that's exactly what that is, or fourth quarter, whatever it was. That was, we don't want to be here.
There's a great cut up someone did who does a Giants blog or something, a podcast, of Kafka post game when asked about Abdul Carter. And Abdul Carter, for those who didn't know, did not play in the first quarter. This is the second time in 3 weeks that he's been benched for the first quarter. Come to find out through the reporting, just like last time, he missed a meeting. This was a special teams meeting. That he apparently said he didn't know that he was on special teams this week, because apparently it's been sort of revolving. Regardless, didn't play in the first half, and they asked him about it post game, and he just kept saying it was my decision, and he wouldn't say why. It's just my decision. I talked to Abdul. It's my decision. So they clipped this thing in 44 seconds, and he said my decision probably like 17 times. And as my good friend Dan Duggan from The Athletic wrote, he's like, so there's reporting on this. Just say it and make it go away. Hey, he was late. This is what we did. It's internal discipline. He had to sit the first quarter. Still have a lot of faith in Abdul. Yada, yada, yada. Nope, doesn't do it. And it just creates this even bigger disaster, if you will, in what's been a disastrous season. He's auditioning for the job. Please get out of here. But yes, I thought, and you're going to get into it, but from an offensive game plan and from a personnel usage, which I know you tweeted about today, the Giants used 2 different groupings last night. I was thinking going in this game, you're just going to unload it, right? You're just going to do this stuff. Like, I'm auditioning. It's prime time. Maybe you don't want me, but maybe somebody else out there will see the job I did with this 2-10 team and say, Kafka, he's our guy. He's going to be the star. He's going to be our head coach next year. No, absolutely gross.
There's something about Giants coaches who just give their jobs away during press conferences. We saw this with Joe Judge, who talked himself out of that job around this time of year and just melted down. I read that transcript, and first of all, good for the New York reporters, which, by the way, not a media base, and I don't really know many of them personally, I stick up for. Sometimes it's a little much. Like, I am with the people who get after me or get after you about press conferences here if they're taking that attitude and energy at New York. But you just go, and it was like, what do you mean by that? What was the decision relevant to? What motivated you to make the decision? Like, just it was a witness on the stand, and it was totally fair because that type of lack of command or even preparation of this is what I'm going to say. You're going to get asked about it before the game even happens. Anyway, this is not about Mike Kafka. Let's just do the offensive stuff, and then we'll get into Drake because we already sang his praises. We all know how well he played, and there's some nuance that we'll get into first. But here's the deal with that game plan. Patriots are facing another bad run defense. It's not they gave up on the run, but they start and go, all right, we're going to pass 7 times in our 11-play opening drive. And then when we get to the second drive and we're 4 plays in, we're going to have deployed 7 different personnel groupings. Just in case you didn't have enough of a headache defending the NFL MVP, Josh McDaniels says you can take these unbalanced formations with 6 offensive linemen, a fullback, some pony personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 11, of course, which they played through most of the game. Good luck. And he doesn't use much play action, which we've discussed is kind of the easy button. But with the backup offensive lineman that they had and a good pass rush for the Giants, the one time he did use it, though, everyone will remember, was the corner out to Hunter Henry for 36 yards, longest play of the game, and then Kayshon Boutte gets the touchdown. This is what I'm talking about when I mention resourceful. Who do we have? What can they do? Let's make that list as long as possible. And not all teams can do this if you don't have the smarts of the quarterback and the command and the poise, but also the veterans around him to execute this. You want small edges. You want a fast start. It's stuff like this, and credit foremost to the players, but the organization, the belief to say, man, we're putting new pages in the playbook this week, not just using everything we have to make sure that we finish this game and finish strong and win our 10th in a row going into the bye.
Yeah, just a masterful job of, and you're talking about the different personnel groupings. So there's no question Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, for when he got in the game, they feel like they can't be blocked. And when you don't know where it's coming from, when you just don't, I'm lined up across this guy and it's going to be one-on-one. And there was plenty of that too. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't, Vidarian Lowe didn't get help all day long, but hey, we're going to put Jumbo on this side. We're going to run away from it. We're going to chip you with a running back. We're going to chip you with the tight end. We're going to double you. We're going to boot away from you. We're going to do all these different things. So you really don't know where my eyes are supposed to be and where am I going to get hit next. And let's face it, now these guys, even though they've been close in a bunch of games, somewhere in the recesses of their brain, it's December. I don't want to get hurt. Like, I want to have a good off season. I want to keep making money. Like, I'm headed into my free agent year, whatever the thing may be that goes on in the players' brains. I don't blame them. They're their own, you're your business. So, but you're like, can you just block me straight up one time? Nope. We'll let you do it once. And then the next time we're going to hit you with something else. And I think it helps slow what the Giants are good at, that pass rush, getting up the field.
There's a cut block for Brian Burns on the second play from scrimmage.
Yep.
Like you want to keep a guy on edge. Go for his knees almost immediately.
Bingo.
And that's exactly what they did after a run, and then ran the ball again. And then they go after Paulson to Debo and the go ball to Matt Collins, who also just was kept busy all night, including the Kayshon Boutte touchdown. So anyway, another good game plan from Josh McDaniels. We can back up, though, and do a little bit of Drake Maye because I was listening to John Wallach this morning try to tell me that Drake Maye is not dazzling. And I love John. I really love Wallach. We have good conversations off of the air. I go, what are you talking about? Like we all go mouth agape, oh my God, no matter where you are watching this kid play quarterback. And I understood his point in that there's not just like those plays stacked on top of each other and the volume screams at you like it would for a 450-yard day for Patrick Mahomes. The kid's never had 300 passing yards in a single game. But this game wasn't even about that. Like, he was kind of right. This was about poise within the pocket against those pass rushers, the interior pressure that they had answers for, and just the command and wherewithal to know exactly where he wanted to go with the ball, given that when they were in 11 personnel a whole lot of the time, he was going to find the mismatch. And that's even with Steph Diggs playing fewer than 50% of the snaps. So this was a cerebral game for Drake Maye with 0 turnover-worthy plays, picked them apart short, intermediate, and deep. And it's just a good, clean, smart game. Like, he's 23, mature beyond his years personally. This is a development curve that I said before I've just never seen before with a quarterback at this stage of his career. He's on the precipice of an MVP. I'm
going to say this, and I'll probably get shouted down by somebody, or they'll clip it, bad takes or whatever, exposed. That was the Tom Brady game. That's exactly what that was. Quick passing, decisive. You said it. Like, I'm seeing what you're doing to me, and I'm diagnosing it in the moment, if not pre-snap, and I'm getting the ball to the right person in the right place. I think I had him for 2 throws I didn't like. There was 2, actually both to Hunter Henry. He threw behind Hunter Henry a couple times, one on an outcut, one down by the goal line. And again, not egregious misses, but like just a little bit of ball placement on the back shoulder, allowed the defender to come into it. But like, never mind that part, like just consistently knowing where to go with the football. You don't sit there, you watch the tape. I watched the tape afterwards. You get the all 22 version. You're looking at it and you're going, yeah, he didn't, like, there wasn't a better throw there. There was like, that was the right play in that moment to the right guy. That's hard to do when you've been in the league for 5, 6, 7 years, when you've been in the league for 2 years and played a year behind that just wretched offensive line and system to be where he is right now. You're right. Like, never in my wildest imagination did I think this is what he'd be doing week in and week out. But that is, I sat there and I was like, it was so good that it was boring to a certain degree. And I'm not siding with John Wallach here. I never side with John Wallach. He knows I don't side with him. He sucks. I say that with all love in my heart. But like, that's what it was. He didn't have to do much spectacular stuff because he had the answers before they showed him the test.
He had 9 completions into the flats, which sounds like, okay, Callahan, who cares? Like, I don't really care about that. But the way that the Giants wanted to play him, and they play a lot of quarterbacks like this, right? Either they're going to send interior pressure because nobody likes that, or they'll fake it and kind of mug the A-gaps, which forces you to play an inside-out protection and leave your tackles on an island versus their edge rushers, which is what they want. He dealt with that understanding, okay, you want to put some resources in the middle. And then when they didn't blitz, they played a lot of quarters. Okay, the flats are open either way. That is taking what the defense is giving you time and time again. That's boring football. And even when they did pressure him, here were his numbers against the blitz. 8 of 11 for 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 sacks, whatever. One was a Trayvon Henderson, which we'll get to later. The point is, we talked about him as a pick your poison. We're now getting to the point where it's almost bulletproof. And that's an insane thing to say for a 23-year-old kid who is just going to have a bad game. And I talk about at the beginning. The Patriots don't have a bad loss. All the contenders, except for the Broncos, who are pulling wins out of their asses, have bad losses. He is the reason why. He doesn't have the letdown game. And if he doesn't, neither do the Patriots.
Yeah, the bad loss was the Raiders game. which the first game of the year. But no, but like the first game of the year, you said it. We say it all the time. Like it's the thing it's the thing you can glean the least about during the course of the entire season. You go back. We just lived it last year. You beat Cincinnati. We're like, oh, Gerard Mayo's onto something here. Then by like week 6, we're like, oh my God, like they can't bring him back, can they? Like that. That's sort of the feeling there. So, yeah, I'd be surprised now at this point. Like that's how well he's played. That even as we had the blips against Cincinnati, where for the first 3 drives it wasn't good. It wasn't what we were used to. He figures a way to get himself out of it and play winning football and make some big time plays.
And yet that guy doesn't know who's playing on Sunday.
I love that though. I
know. I'm teasing. It's just to be 23 and that good at anything, let alone one of the most pressure-packed jobs in America. Couple other things offensively, because we're already kind of deep into the weeds on this.
Yeah.
Pop Douglas, I want to highlight. He played his most snaps in a game since week 3 against the Steelers, which also counts as another bad loss. But that game ended with him coming up short and turning the wrong way on 4th down. He played 22 snaps, and this was not just a function of them playing 11 personnel, because Steph Diggs played mostly in the slot and finished with fewer than half the snaps played here. He had 3 catches. 2 were on that 2-minute drill right before halftime, which to me says there's trust there with Drake Maye and a guy who was staying ready. Did not love his run blocking, Pop Douglas.
No, thank you.
Like, just kind of got tossed around.
Yeah, that's in my notes. Yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah. Not good. Really happy to see that for him, because as someone who was ragged on the receiving core, not quite to stink stunk levels. Though you were right, history has shown and proven out you should have printed the T-shirts when you had the chance. Right? But BSJ.com, is that what it is? Do you guys spell it out?
Boston, yeah, it's spelled out.
I have it bookmarked. That's why I don't know. Definitely.
Right.
Anyway, the fact that you had that depth in a guy that's really just kind of being used as this rotational slot when you're expecting man coverage or you want to send him deep, to have him run a little bit more of a diverse route tree and them to connect again 2 months after this game that he basically gave away is awesome. Just I like the kid, but separate from that, really nice to see for the player.
I thought the best part of it, Andrew, was a couple of those came against zone and he throttled down and was in the right place. And we talk about feel, and it's not something that he doesn't have great feel, but this was a moment where you're like, oh, okay. Like you were smart. You settled down. You found the opening. Drake saw you. He showed him your numbers, and bingo. That's what you're looking for from him. So he's still developing even in his 3rd year. And like I said, if he could find a little bit more of that feel in his game, yeah, I'd like him around for a long time.
You mentioned the Brady thing earlier. Here's a stat to support that. 8 different players with catches for the Patriots. So Pop had 3, Booty had 4. We all know what happened on the touchdown. Everything else was kind of short, curls, little stabs, whatever. Henry had 4. Henderson and Stevenson, by virtue again of, okay, what is the defense doing? Interior pressure, or you're going to play quarters. The flats are open. Saw a lot of touches. They also had things opened up by how much pony personnel. So 2 halfbacks, not just Jack Westover and a running back, 21 personnel. 21H, I put it in the film breakdowns. When McDaniels did this, and I think Dan Orlovsky beat me to this, I couldn't bring myself to watch the video, but Reese quote tweeted it. I think he was highlighting what I'm about to say. This happens very often, by the way, that Dan and I just share a brain, and he's just a little
you and a 10-year NFL quarterback. Yeah.
I was going to say this. Oh, yeah, for sure. Anyway, so they run more pony personnel than they have most of the year, and the reason was twofold. It was to attack, again, those flats, but it was also to help with the chip protection, because it wasn't just Vidarian Lowe, who we should get to in a second, getting all of that help on the left side, slides, doubles, chips, whatever. Both of them would go out into routes and hit whomever was on the edge and wherever Brian Burns was on their way out there. Huge help to Drake Maye and going into places where they were going to get the ball. And when we saw this, 4 targets for Henderson and 3 for Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yeah, just a smart plan. And I like the physicality of it too. Like I'm not going to get a clean rush. I'm not going to feel comfortable. I want you to make sure that you're looking around, trying to figure out where the next hit's coming from, because you got the guy in front of you, but who else is going to help?
So Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown. First of all, just a hat tip to these dudes, because You would not have known that two starters were out at those positions just watching the tape. And okay, Ben Brown has a holding penalty. And I had Vidarian low down for 4 pressures, quarterback hit, and 3 hurries. You could talk me out of one of them. Certainly not 2. Those numbers, though, belie what was, again, a really solid performance on tape. And I talked to him after the game. And this isn't just about the pressure totals you allow or don't. It's how are you functioning within the game plan and the way that you set, which in this case, where again, we talked about the interior pressure. The Giants do that, again, to get their athletic edges out there so they can just kind of run the hoop and get by. So their plan was just, we're send you straight behind Drake Maye. And he was pointing out there was some stuff that I had him, technically in the first half that was wrong. Second half, as the offense goes down, he actually popped back up. So that kind of adjustment, improvement against this level of competition, I really don't care that much about the 4 pressures, baking in my expectations, probably 3. So 1 more, but you improve as the game goes on in your first start. Great job by Vidarian Lowe.
So he's the opposite of Will Campbell in terms of he's got the long arms, right? What I thought he did very well in this game was he moved his feet well enough that he was able to unlock the long arms, right? And to your point, we're just going to ride you past the quarterback. And he did that a number of times. But I like some of the work that he did in the run game, like getting to the second level a couple of times. There were a couple of nice combo blocks with Ben Brown. Like, it was solid. Like, not, don't go put it on the wall and frame it, but like, that was good stuff. You're going to have to do it again. You got Buffalo, you got the Ravens. You're the left tackle for those games. If you, knock on wood, stay healthy, so the challenge will be great again, because those teams will, I don't know if they have a player quite like Brian Burns, but they'll get you with scheme and they'll get you with volume and they'll throw a lot of stuff at you. And I thought that was a good, solid, representative performance by Vidarian Lowe.
No other offensive lineman had more than a pressure allowed, at least that I had. Did you have any different?
I had 2 for Moses, but again, that's one of those ones where you could talk me out of it. And I had 3 for Vidarian and a quarterback hit. So I was one below you on that one, but same thing. You could have talked me into a 4th one if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I had 4 total, so it sounds like we're actually aligned. Okay. Morgan Moses again get help there. Garrett Bradbury was sick. Said after the game, nothing was going to keep me from playing. Didn't like sound thrilled about it, but kind of a protocol thing. Did you? I assume you talked to him. We always talk to Garrett.
I didn't actually because I did. I don't even know if I saw him in the locker room. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that. He was sick. I don't need to be. I'm not going into my bye week getting sick. Like, there was some talk that we were going to talk to him today in the locker room, and I didn't see him until the very end. And I was kind of like, that's a win for me, I think. Yeah. Even though I like talking to Garrett, it's a win for me.
A lot, yeah. Okay, so as good as they were in pass protection, especially relative to expectation, oh my God, Brian Burns is coming. Right. And what are they going to do? And Vidarian Lowe. And I shared in this. It wasn't quite hysteria, but it was concern. The run blocking, good job at Ben Brown. An issue. Like, when they're 1 for 5 in the red zone, and you want to know what's going on there. And I think we even got mailbag questions, which, by the way, I'm going to do a full mailbag episode tomorrow, which will be out later this week, and I'll answer that. Here's a spoiler. They cannot punch it in short yardage. The Patriots have a 56% success rate. And this is not like your EPA stuff. This is just when there's 2 yards or fewer to go, how often do you get those yards? And it's about 50-50. So, and when you get to the goal line, it's been worse. You want to know why they were 1 of 5 in the red zone? That's primarily it. And not even that they tried and failed. It's that they know they're not good at it. So now, the opponent knows, and you've got these low percentage throws to Booty, to Diggs, and sometimes those will hit, and that's great. You get a touchdown out of it. Cool. When you don't, though, that's a field goal. So that, to me, is something I don't know. Can they do anything about that now, do you think? Short yardage?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, I mean, you are what you are at this point. Again, assuming that you can stay relatively healthy and that you get the left side of your line back at some point here before the end of the regular season. But yeah, I think that they've kind of shown us who they are. They don't have none of these guys are like maulers, right? Like even Nwenu, that's probably should be his strength based just on his size and physicality. Not. Bradbury's oftentimes giving up a lot of weight. He gave up a lot of weight last night. And, not only was he sick, but giving up a lot of weight to Dexter Lawrence. And he fared pretty well, at least as a pass blocker, but they don't move people. Like, Even when we get to the defense, there were times when the Giants were moving the Patriots up front and creating seams, and you're like, this team doesn't do that offensively.
And Will Campbell, I bet, gets there, but it's not happening this year.
Right.
And according to Burt Breer, has a grade 3 MCL strain, which is really a tear. Which this season I've never thought more about how poorly we label injuries.
Yes,
like turf toe sounds so soft.
Yep,
and
it's brutal.
Yes, and a high ankle sprain is really like twisting your lower leg bones, which I've said now a billion times in this podcast. For a grade 3 sprain to be really a tear, we just call it an MCL tear. I don't know. But anyway, I would count on that probably Will Campbell being out longer than the first 4 weeks. So it's 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll see.
Yeah. And that's, I think we talked about this on the podcast last week. Like, my concern is people are just automatically putting him in. He's going to be back. Okay. Well, maybe he does come back because he's a tough dude. And I think, as Bert so eloquently said last night, part of putting him on IR was like save himself from himself. Like, he wants to be out there. He's a tough dude. Like, dude, we can't rush this. You got to go and got to get right. We saw him in the locker room today, by the way. Big brace from all the way up at his hip, all the way down to his ankle. Big old knee brace. So even if he does come back, does he come back? Is he the same athlete that he was before he got hurt? Because I have questions about that. I think that's going to be hard to do. So, is 85%, 80% of Will Campbell better than Vidarian Lowe? Well, you should hope so, because he was the 4th overall pick. But, we'll have to see.
All right, I'm going to give you some rapid fire, and I want you to pick one, and this will be how we end offense, unless you got some more.
Nope, shoot.
Steph Diggs, already mentioned, played fewer than half the snaps, despite the fact that they spread it out. We're in 11 personnel a whole lot. That's number 1. Number 2, Kyle Williams. Well done, sir. 33-yard touchdown, over-the-shoulder tracking. I know we all, or Twitter generally, glazed Drake Maye for that throw. It was a good throw.
Yeah, good catch.
Better catch, in my opinion, over-the-shoulder tracking that. And Hunter Henry, who, just steady Eddie. Like, you talk about, we're bored about saying how good Drake Maye's been. This dude is consistent and reliable, but if you don't talk about him, you're missing something in a lot of these games. So, Henry, Diggs, or Kyle Williams?
I would say Kyle, and I would just say this: are we sure he was in bounds?
I don't want to do this.
Why not?
Because it happened. It's over.
I didn't think he was in bounds. I would have challenged it, but no. I love the tracking on it, but I also love the element of trust there. And was it you who asked the question? Someone asked the question about like Drake. Oh, maybe it was Phil.
Drake, yes, Phil got that shoved back at him by Vrabel today. Yeah, don't cut me off.
Ornery Mike, even after a win. That he still had faith to go in that direction, and I give him credit for that. Like, because it hasn't worked a lot, and it's worked with everybody else to a much higher success rate. I think it was like 81% completion percentage when he targets Steph Diggs this year. Like, same thing with Hunter. Just throw it in his general direction, and generally he's going to come up with it. Mac Hollins, especially lately, I'd say the last 4 or 5 weeks, right? Like, you put it anywhere near Mac's catching the football. So to be able to and be willing to, hey, he's open and I'm going to throw it to him, and we'll see what happens. That should only help going forward. That was a much more difficult catch than the one he had to make against Tampa that he turned into a touchdown, right? Where that was really Drake placing it as well as anyone could humanly place it, and then his speed took over.
Yeah, and it's just like little seeds of hope, right, for Kyle Williams. It might not pay off and grow into meaningful 10 to 15 snaps or a starting job come the playoffs. Like, we're at the end here. We, like you said, who they are, what they can do. But maybe next year, plays like that, you point to and go, you do the right things, ball comes in your direction, you can make a play. I did not get to play 2 stats in a lie this morning, so I'm going to lie now and tell you I got one more. We're not going to play the game. Oh, actually, you know what? Yes, we will.
Okay, go for it.
But first, I'm going to lie by telling you I had one more thing I wanted to say about the offense, because this puts a bow on the point about the run game. We're in agreement that there's nothing they can really do about short yardage. It's just who they are offensively. Khyiris Tonga, much as I love him, it's going to factor in playing fullback if he does. Again, not going to solve all their issues. They can have a better run game or a functional, threatening run game, though, even if they're not steady Eddie, success rate friendly, if they get enough explosives. And you got one late from Trayvon Henderson, who managed to go outside, and that brought up his average. It brought up his yards, obviously. You can have a boom or bust run game and be threatening as an offense if you can kind of come up to league average in those short yardage situations. They don't have to be average. If they're a little bit better there and they can maintain that explosiveness, not just like the potential, but you realize it and you hit a couple, 2, 3, 4 runs at 12 yards, I don't care about the inconsistency, because when you hit, and that's something that a lot of teams can work with. Anything I missed there?
No, but I will say I did like the way Rhamondre ran. I thought Rhamondre ran physical. That was more like the Rhamondre pre-injury. You know, we didn't really see that last week. And again, not all of it was on him, as there was a lot of traffic in the backfield, shall we say. But I did like sort of decisiveness, and he moved a couple piles on his own. Didn't get necessarily help from the offensive line on those plays. So I took that as a positive, at least.
Yes. All right. True or false? Because I'm only going to spoil one. Kayshon Boutte, who caught his 9th career touchdown on Monday. That's not the true or false. This part is. Has more receiving touchdowns than any college wide receiver the Patriots have drafted in the last 20 years. Kayshon Boutte's 9 career receiving touchdowns are more than any other college receiver the Patriots have drafted in the last 20 years.
Yes. That is true. Because you said college wide receiver. That takes Julian Edelman out of the picture because he was not a college wide receiver, as we all know, a quarterback at Kent State.
Any guess who's number 2 on that list? Or right behind Kayshon Boutte?
And drafted, not a UDFA.
Patriots drafted receiver of the last 20 years.
Aaron Dobson.
No, he had 4. Brandon Tate.
Brandon Tate, or as Tom Curran used to call him, Brandon Tata.
For sure, that would have been Tater.
Yeah.
And most of those were not with the Patriots. But career receiving touchdowns, who's got the most? Kayshon Boutte the last 20 years. You got to go back to Deion Branch. Shout out Deion in 2002. All right, moving on. They didn't have PrizePicks back in 2002. No, but if they did, Deion Branch would have been an absolute monster. And let me tell you why. All you have to do on PrizePicks, which sponsors this podcast, which might accompany me when I go watch the Celtics game after we finish here, is pick a player who comes with a stat on the PrizePicks app. That stat might be touchdowns. It could be yards. It could be basketball points, assists, rebounds, a combination of some. You can make the number higher or you can go lower. And whatever you decide what that player in that stat is, you put it in your lineup. Then you go and pick another player. Whatever sport you want, whatever stat you want, whatever player you want, it's up to you. It's that simple. You pick the player, you pick the stat, put it in the lineup. Once you have 2 and you can go up to 6, you just have to pick higher or lower on the stats that accompany your players, hit submit, and that's it. This is the easiest, best way to win money while you're watching real sports. Giardi does this. I do this, again, to spice up the NBA or the NHL. I have a lot of late nights now on League Pass with my newborn. You know who else is keeping me company? PrizePicks. And so I urge you, I compel you to use PrizePicks. This is $5 here, it's $5 there, whatever you want to do. But it is the easiest and best way to watch sports, as we all get inundated with all of these things that want to take our money and offer you this and that. Look, if you download the PrizePicks app today, they will give you $50, 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's if you use code CLNS. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50, 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right. Defensively.
Yes.
This was fun. I will say, though, in rewatching this game and tallying what I had as a 40% blitz rate, which is a lot.
Yep.
It made me think of the week 2 game in 2017. Patriots go down to New Orleans. They had just taken a butt kicking on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. But the reason this game stands out in memory is not because they go beat the Saints by like 19 or whatever it was. It was at the end of that game, Tony Romo announced himself as I got next as an analyst because he observed the Patriots blitzing like all hell in this blowout of a game that they don't care about, going You know, Belichick's doing that. So when the next opponents get their blitz rate in this down and distance, it's inflated. But they really don't like to do this. But the stats will lie to them for the next couple of weeks because they've just done it now. So I'm watching the end of the drive, the end of the game last night. And they did this early on, don't get me wrong, but not at a 40% clip. And it is just blitz after Jackson Dart. You might be sick of seeing Christian Ellis. He's not sick of seeing you. Here he comes again and got another quarterback hit. Okay. I don't know that Zach Core was up to that or kind of galaxy braining the end of garbage time. But the point is, they thought they could break the Giants with pressure. They were kind of right. And then they ultimately buried them with it, whether or not that was part of the game plan from the start or just something that they wanted to twist at the end. Because they do have a tendency, and teams have anticipated this, to solve problems with pressure. And that leaves you vulnerable, as we've seen, to start their own Saints game earlier this year. But other times, you get exactly what you want and really quickly.
Are you saying hashtag chess checkers right there? Possible?
Yeah.
Look, I don't think that notion that you just had there is crazy, though. Honestly, I don't. They pay attention to way more things than we would ever imagine them. Well, we sort of have an idea, but I think in general public of the things that they pay attention to, I think there was some management of personnel in this game that would tell you that they also thought they were going to kick some ass. And we have this sort of thing in our, and that, you know, they'll never tell you that. They're talking about, I don't care how many wins you have, Vrabel. I don't care how many wins they got. I know they beat this team and that team and they took these 4 teams down to the final. I think they had in their mind, like, we're better than these guys. And if we do what we're coaching them to do this week, we're going to get up on them. And I'm going to be able to say to Harold Landry or Robert Spillane, a couple other guys, like, come over here, sit down for a bit. Like, we don't need 55 snaps from you today. We're going to get by with 38 or 40, or we're going to drop you from Corey Durden, went from 35 to 24. Now, Milton Williams is still out, and Corey Durden played well, but we're putting a lot of mileage on you. Let's make sure that we're sort of building in a little extra rest here going into the bye.
Yeah, some load management, even after an extra day. But this was also their 4th game in 22 days, and obviously their 13th overall. Just putting a bow on the blitz stuff. Giants had a 17% success rate against the blitz and 3.9 yards per play allowed. Most of those yards were on a 30-yard touchdown that really didn't look good. Aside from the blitz, a lot of cover 2, which I think this was kind of game script. Keep everything in front. Don't let them hit you over the top. I will say, from a little birdie, they were really not concerned, but cognizant of the intermittent use of tempo. And if they want to use these shot plays to line up and go, we got to be ready. So I think they probably had a check to cover 2 ready, because you did see a little bit of that in the second half, especially when the Giants got into Patriots territory. They're going, look, and this is a defensive plan as old as time. If we make them earn it, they'll fall flat. Okay. It's when Dart gets to go deep or gets to scramble that we will have some trouble. So if we don't let that happen, and even when he does scramble, we're going to knock the hell out of him. And when you get that early, it's not like proof of concept, but that's a play where I hear the Ellis hit. People talk about, oh, how much momentum did you get after that? Did you feed off of that? And it's like colleagues of ours. I'm like, they just lined up and like ran the next call, the next play. They're not thinking about, man, Christian, what a badass hit.
Yeah.
This is an exception. This was a charged moment that not only sent the Giants backwards 3 yards, because bad teams stay bad and pick fights that they can't win with the referees specifically. But to me, that was like, hey, we bought in. This is a plan that's going to work. And it happened right away and kind of had not quite a snowball effect, but something close.
Cool moment with Ellis today. We talked to him obviously the post game, and then today give us a little bit more insight, because he said, well, like, were you worried? Like, he's like, I thought I had him in bounds. And then when that guy reacted the way he did, it was Theo Johnson who came over, I think was the first guy and drew the flag. He's like, I looked up at the Jumbotron, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that was a clean hit. So he's like, either the flag's on him or the refs really screwed it up, so, and then he actually was, because that was clearly a theme this week of like, Vrabel talked about it on Monday of last week about like more of a message to Drake Maye, but like there's a lot of calls this year where you're seeing them pick up the flag on the sideline because these guys are tiptoeing down the sidelines and guys are hitting them, and just the natural reaction of the ref is, oh, that's an illegal hit. And then the quick review, and it's like, no, that was clean. Both feet were in bounds, and they pick up the flag. But Ellis said later in the game, he did it with a running back, and he pulled up, and he kind of pushed him out of bounds, or tried to push him out of bounds, and he kept going, and he's like, I was kind of mad at myself. I should have lowered the shoulder and decked him too. I was like, yeah, you should have, because what you did to Dart, he did that was like a triple Lindy flip there.
3 more things on this. Number 1, the Manning cast watching this play. I saw this clip. It was going around. It's like a minute 45 of that play. And both the Mannings have watched like someone's dog get shot when this hit happens. Like, oh my God. And then Eli, upon watching the reviews, was like, Jackson told me he was going to start running out of bounds. I guess he just lied to my face. It's just like all of the reporters and surely the coaches on the sideline had the same reaction. Number 2, if you go back and watch that clip or the hit in general, watch how much ground Christian Ellis covers once Jackson Dart first gets to the sideline. And I get that he's not tiptoeing, but he's very close to the sideline for a good 5 yards. Christian Ellis covers a lot more than 5, a lot more than 10, more than 15 yards to meet him on the sideline. Those physical traits are why the front office and the coaching staff, to different levels, but have both bet on those traits.
Yep.
When you and I every other week are going, hey, really fell for that bootleg fake on the first drive? It's our guy, Christian Ellis. Number 3, you cannot tell me that everyone and anyone watching this did not have some kind of feeling in the back of their mind that not only was that just sick, a visceral sight to see, but you were like, I would love to do that to someone in my life.
I thought you were going to say like, that's football. Because that was sort of my reaction when it happened.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is the football I grew up with that they've legislated quite a bit. And I get it, player safety and all those sorts of things that are very important. But I don't know if I said it to you, but like the thought was 2001. The thought was that was Jerome Pathon for the Indianapolis Colts catching a slant and Brian Cox absolutely decapitating that human being with a vicious hit. And it's one of those things where I remember in the moment thinking like, this team is better than I thought they were going to be. Now that was still early in the year. So like, I wasn't saying Super Bowl, but it was just like one of those moments you're like, this team is different than what we've watched the last few years. They got a little edge to them that we hadn't seen. And that's how I felt last night, where not that there aren't hard hits in every game, but the stuff like that to happen in the open field it's few and far between. And it sort of gave me that feeling again. I was like, okay. Well, the last time I remember something like this happened was 2001. What happened that year? Oh, right. They won a Super Bowl. Not saying.
I just waffled from, okay, this is my let me have it for later. That this is football. Oh, of course. Yes, Mike. Welcome. And then you made a compelling case for like, no, that visceral reaction, that physicality, that speed, that collision, that will, that is football. All in one split second. That if you had to show an alien, this is the sport that I cover, this is what I do for a living, that's in the highlight clip of 30 seconds, however long you get with said alien. But then you dismount it with the comparison to 2001. It's like, oh, it could be Super Bowl now. The case for Super Bowl is Drake Maye. So I guess I spoiled my let me have it for later, but that's what I was doing the last 30 seconds.
Huh. Interesting. I don't have one for you yet, but I'll get there. Maybe that was it just now, the way you were so dismissive of me.
Oh, good. 2 wrinkles schematically before we just go down the list of just player observations. How about a little 1-5-5 in your life? Just a little sprinkling. 1 down lineman, 5 linebackers. Jelani Tavai, come on out. Jack Gibbons, Christian Ellis, come hang. Robert Spillane, Callahan Chason, Harold Landry. That was 6, so only 5 of them were there. But the point is, don't see that a whole lot. Base personnel grouping. I think they'd done this in 1 game before. So you got 4 defensive backs. It's very often 2 safeties, 2 corners. And it changes a little bit when they get closer to the goal line. But open field, they had 3 corners and 1 safety. And this is a matchup thing. But it just every so often reminds me watching them, have these wrinkles or kind of twists that, hey, as much as this is a little bit more of a, I don't want to say static, but true to themselves week after week game plan than we're accustomed to in New England, it's still a game plan defense. And I like seeing that, understanding the way you're going to have to beat the Bills if you see them in the playoffs is very, very different from how you'll have to play, say, the Colts, or the Broncos, or even for that matter, the Texans. And you want to be able to have that schematic flexibility and belief to be able to do that. And they're showing a little bit more and more.
Yeah, there were a number of times in this game, probably 4 or 5 that I counted off the top of my head and starred, where the Patriots, whether recognition of formation or whether they heard a call and that triggered what there was communication, they checked to something, and then Dart tried to check their check. And I think on 4 of the 5 that I had him checking their check, it went nowhere. And so there's just one of those things where it's like, we're again, just checkers, where we're playing that game and you're the young quarterback, and we're growing so confident as a defense and as a group that we're able to make these adjustments on the fly. And not that it doesn't happen probably on every play, but like dramatic, like move this, that, this guy's moving here. You got defensive linemen turning around, asking Spillane and Ellis what's happening. All right, we're doing this. And then you see the result. Like, again, another one of those proof of concept things, Andrew, where you go, hey, that's Spillane. He's pretty good at this. He diagnoses things pretty well. When he says something, we should probably listen, because he probably got that from the coach, and they're pretty good. So let's just keep this going.
Nice game for Christian Gonzalez, who
That's just not right.
I mean, I'm getting that from somewhere, and it's not from me. I looked this up today because I didn't know it last week. Mitchell Tinsley has 7 career catches. One of them was a touchdown against one of the best corners in the world. Anyway, didn't give up a catch in man-to-man coverage. They only played it about 30% of the time. Fine. This was a Christian Gonzalez game, plus a big hit. So when the physicality is reaching your athlete corners who want to send a message, and I thought I saw a little bit of a step over, not quite the
Yeah, I think there
AI.
was. Yeah,
it was very small. Probably smart, a little understated, just like him. Also, good game from Carlton Davis. Gives up the catch early. I think it was a double slant concept in the opening drive.
Yep.
Then pitched a shutout and should have had a pick, but you could say that about a lot of Carlton Davis. So I like that from the secondary. Like, this is something I think we thought we would see a whole lot more. Where both of them, granted, we all know level competition, Giants, whatever, are playing to that level. You're going to have a hard time throwing outside, and the Patriots are going to have a lot more games like this when they had 7 pass breakups.
Also, just like a lot of, because of taking away the outside, forcing them to throw in tighter spaces in the inside, just so many bodies around footballs and around receivers when they caught the ball. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, I think 3 or 4 times is like, I don't know that I really want to catch this. I mean, I'll catch it, but I'm going to get I got nowhere to go, and that's good team defense, smart. I will say this. I keep waiting for Craig Woodson. Like, we talked about his physicality and, big plays against Tampa, and he's had a couple hits. He is like, he covers well. He just doesn't make a play on the ball. A couple times in this game, like, he right there, and they still catch it on.
6 tackles. Oh, they took one away from Christian Ellis. He had 7 at the end of the game because I tweeted out team high 7 tackles on defense, team high 2 on special teams, and then team high 1 complete obliteration of Jackson Dart. Yeah, I mean, Woodson was near the top of my list when I said maybe a month and a half ago, like, there's just something missing about that secondary, and I wanted them to play with a little bit more force and introduce a little bit more playmaking. And some of this is dependent on the scheme and the quarterback you're facing, how aggressive is he in tight windows, blah, 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 blah. But you saw glimpses of this in September from him, and then it's just been like flatlined since. So he's nonetheless exceeded expectations as a 4th-round rookie who, even at the advanced age that is older than one Jordan Hudson, is playing a lot of NFL football and hanging around and not screwing things up. And honestly, even in the modern league where safeties can and do everything, that's fine. That's fine by me. But I'm with you. Like, you would like to see a little bit more because teams are going after him and Hawkins in coverage. And you saw this with the Giants. And Hawkins had a pass breakup, and then he had a pretty bad penalty and 2 missed tackles. So that's where I'm at there. How about the pass rush?
I mean, again, the most pressure came off the blitz stuff, which has really sort of been I say at least for the last month or so, that's sort of where it's come from, that the 4-man rush isn't really getting home. And you'd like it to be better, but I just feel like we talked about it leading into the deadline. There are players short over there, and it didn't necessarily have to be Jalen Phillips would have been nice, and we see what he's doing with Philadelphia. Didn't necessarily have to be that. It just needed to be somebody else. Ponder got a lot of reps and he's gotten a couple cleanup sacks, but like, I'm not, it's fine. He's an undrafted free agent. He's giving them snaps, but I don't necessarily think it's high level snaps.
No, Harold Landry led them with 2 pressures, sack and a QB hit. Chason had 2 hits. Christian Barmore, I gave him a hit. It didn't go in the box score, but he got the foot, or looked like he got close to Jackson Dart, which set up the Landry sack. 2 for Jalen Hawkins. So I guess all of these guys tied for the lead. QB hit in a hurry. Again, a lot of that is coverage or scheme, and it just is what it is. Like if it wasn't the Bills, let's say they had just played the Bills and you're playing the Giants when they come back from the bye, I would almost just Harold Landry take a week, man. Yeah. Like I don't know the specifics of the injury. Like don't get me wrong, but the idea of giving him rest, understanding what he now means as the central driving force with Chason of this entire pass rush until Milton Williams comes back, because Christian Barmore misses Milton Williams.
Yeah.
If I even give him that QB hit, that is his 3rd in the last 8 games. We talked about this, the soft pressure. Barmore's a good player. You're just not getting the production you would think. Anyway, I need those guys healthy. I need them fresh. And right now they're playing a ton of snaps. I don't think I have much else on defense.
I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what I did want to point out? Anthony Jennings.
Oh, good call.
Couple good pass rushes, but also she blew up it's a run play on 1st and 10 from the 14. The Giants were on there on 14, and he just like bared down. He did it a couple of times. Like I thought he was pretty good. I thought that's probably the best he's looked as a pass rusher in some time. Again, not his forte, but made some impactful plays both against the run and the pass. I give him a lot of credit, man, because he's a starter in this league. Certainly played good football for this team the last couple of years, and now he's in a very reduced role, and probably thought he was going to be traded. I would say probably wanted to be traded because these guys want to play, and he's kept his mouth shut, and he's given them what he can when he can.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I think it's a simple, straightforward case. Like, the teams just don't covet edge rushers that don't have a lot of juice, and his strength is edge setting, which you could argue as the league turns more run heavy and you get a lot more explosives, particularly against good running backs, edge setting is a more valuable skill. But they wanted to offload him for months. They couldn't do it. After the deadline, I told him, "Hey, man, glad you're still here." He goes, "Oh, I wasn't worried about being moved." I was like, "That's interesting." Some guys just
the checks cash in either way. If someone's willing to trade for me, they've got a vision for me and a role for me. And if I'm here, well, I know the system now and I know how they're going to use me. And, there's no sense in, he knows who he is. Like, he doesn't think that he's Max Crosby. So, as long as you have a good sense about what you are, what you do well, what you don't do well, I think you can handle that aspect of it. Yeah.
No, he's a useful player. It's just a niche role and a tough scheme fit. But both of them, the coaching staff and Anthony, have made the best of it. Okay, studs and duds. I think this is a really easy week. You want to lead us off?
No, go ahead. You got it.
Marcus Jones.
Yep.
Drake Maye.
Yep.
Josh McDaniels.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you could go a couple of different ways here. Booty had a nice catch. Kyle Williams had one nice play. I kind of just went with the corners. That's the duo you envisioned when they signed Carlton Davis. And you baked in, he's going to miss 4 games. He has each of the last 3 years or whatever it's been. But when he's healthy and they're physical and they're playing like this, that's what it looked like finally this game.
Yeah, I had the corners in there. I had Ellis in there, obviously, because I think I even told him, I didn't – whatever, the opening kickoff, he smoked the guy in the opening kickoff too, which is you were talking about. I said to him after we talked to him today, I was like, dude, I don't know if I was just settling into my chair and didn't realize how hard you hit that guy on the opening kickoff, but you smoked him too. He's like, trying to do that to everybody. I'm like, yeah, including as Drake Maye walked by him today and was like, big play Ellis, don't hit me like that. They're feeling themselves. I put Durden in there. I just think he's done a nice job. Again, they reduced his snaps a little bit, but I thought he was impactful as a run defender in particular. And then Hunter, but we sort of talked about him, just like the consistency. And I actually thought he had a pretty good game run blocking. Again, not his forte, but he did a solid job, good effort there. So, and I'll give one more shout out. Miles Battle signed to the 53 to replace the injured Alex Austin. So on the punt team immediately on the punt return, dealing with the double team and the gunner on the Jones 94-yard touchdown run, shoves him like 4 yards off the field. So they played. It's a leverage game. Like he knows he's got to, depending on who's where in terms of body positioning, one of the guys has to peel back and pick up someone else. So the way it worked, he shoved this guy off. I forget who the other guy was doubling the gunner with. He pulls off, gets the linebacker, number 54, gave up like 35 pounds to that guy. And that was the last block, essentially. That was the last guy that had a real chance besides the punter of catching Marcus Jones. So, not a bad day. Get called up to the 53, make a little bit more bank this week, and make a nice contribution on the 94-yard punt return.
DJ James would never, because DJ James was in that same role of come play like one snap, maybe a couple, be on teams. And then this time that week that he played, I think it might have been the opener, they cut his ass for not trying hard enough. So Miles Battle can send him
after such a great summer too. DJ James had such a good summer.
And it was doing the speaking in third person thing too, which is just a delight every time anyone does it. Players, I should say. If I did it, it'd be a disgrace. Duds. Hawkins was a stretch, but I just got to do it with the penalty and the 2 missed tackles, especially being in the vicinity. And when they play that, sit on the fence type of cover zero, there's a little match going on. So like when Christian Gonzalez gives up his route when he's got the number 1 and the number 1 breaks inside, they got some clear out stuff going on. I can't tell you the specific rules, so I'm not going to pin it on him. But clearly there was a breakdown there, and Jalen Hawkins was around. That was kind of it.
Yeah.
For me, not a lot of duds.
I would put Ponder on there. I just, I don't think there was a lot there in this one. I'm trying to think. Trevion Henderson is a pass blocker.
Do you think we're going to get pushback this week when we ask about that?
I don't think so. I mean, there shouldn't be. I mean, he
was better. He's improving.
It's not so much. One of the few times that I would agree with Pro Football Focus gradings, they had him at like a 3 as in pass block. It was a red number. Yeah, not good. Not good. But that's it, really.
I gotta shout out my guy Gunner.
Oh, baby.
Poor dude. There's no way that's his first concussion, second concussion.
No.
For those who forgot, Gunnar Olszewski, all-pro punt returner.
Yeah.
Marcus Jones before Marcus Jones, at least in 2020, who was not re-signed, went to the Steelers, and has bounced around the league since, I think, 2022. Actually, it's mostly Pittsburgh and the Giants, but was just a delightful story for that 2019 team, undrafted, Bemidji State, Division II, played corner, and then flips over to wide receiver. Boy, he got roughed up. That was tough to see.
Yeah, when they we're watching as he's on the field, and you're like, yeah, I mean, you knew he was out probably before he hit the ground, but then when they're walking him off and they shut the cut, you see the TV shot of him coming off with help on both sides, and you're like, he's not sure where he is at this point. That's scary because you're right. It's part of the game, but that's not his first one, and for someone who is made his living being fearless, right? I mean, that's part of why he's stuck around, because he's willing to just throw his body headlong into storms like that. That's one of those ones where you're just like, tough business to be in, buddy. Tough business.
He's the best. That was also the best story I'd written for what was too long of a period of time, like almost 2 years. And I was like, I really need to.
You had an emotional attachment to him. You identified with him right away.
You always remember your first love. That was my first training camp crush that I allowed myself. This year was Chason. That was well invested. People think
it's like Jimmy Garoppolo. He might. I mean,
he's not even in the shot.
He might still be there.
Come on.
That might even say, well, that's because I bought a shirt. But yeah, autographed.
Did you smell it?
Maybe.
The shirt? Okay, we have 4 minutes left. Do you have any bye week thoughts? I don't really. I think they're excited to go. They have 5 days off. You don't see this a whole lot. And they'll have Tuesday off next week and start a regular week of preparation. Mike Vrabel said all the right things today. You should go read it. Basically, we're not done. Champions are not satisfied, but like definitely go and get away when you come back. Be recovered and be ready to go.
I think it's the one thing I would say about it. I think it's an extraordinary amount of trust for the football team to give them 5 days off, and there'll be guys that stay because there's the guys that need treatment. They have to sort that whole thing out. Like people aren't just getting on a plane and going to Cabo or whatever. Like that's not how it plays. But I think he trusts this team. He trusts these guys to do the right thing, and there's always a nervous time. I think you ask any NFL coach when they have these breaks, it's always like they're not under our watch so much. We're not on a schedule, and some of these guys, when they get off a schedule, can go a little nuts. But I think he sort of signaled, you guys have earned it, and I trust you to be men about it. And I look forward to seeing you back next week, ready to go, because as they keep telling us, the stakes get higher and higher as they go along, and the games get more and more important.
I do like that approach, by the way. And I don't want to expound upon it, but like we don't have to pretend all of the games are actually the same. Like they do increase in weight and gravity and stakes every single week. So when they just put it out in the open, acknowledge it, and you don't have to focus or worry or ruminate on all that stuff. You just be like, yeah, that is what it is. There's no charade. There's no keeping quiet. There's no tiptoeing around it where, the next game is most important because it's the next game. Man, you were playing what should be your division rival for the next few years, if not longer, at a time when you have not had a rival for a long time. If you win the division. You have a chance at the 1 seed. This is a big one. Okay, we can say it out loud. Dad pod, and then we're out of here. So I said last time, I think, that our pediatrician, she's now 3.5 weeks old, my daughter, talk to them all of the time as much as you can. So I'm doing shifts, splitting the overnights with my mother-in-law. I'm up till 3 a.m. My wife is up all the time to pump and feed and these different things. So I am reading a book that I have been very slowly, like, just nibbling at page by page. It's the Seth Wickersham book, which I was reading in October when we were in Buffalo. Yes. Speaking of the Bills. So I get to this section in American Kings, is a biography of the quarterback, which everyone should buy. It's a great book about a Hall of Famer named Bob Waterfield, who is basically the first celebrity quarterback. And this goes back to the early 40s, but kind of set the framework for when you're a quarterback, this is a big deal. And you date actresses and people know your names and you are headlines, literally, as Seth writes, above an update on World War II. Bob Waterfield outdid World War II in the newspaper, which in that time was a big deal. So I'm reading all this stuff about Bob Waterfield to my 3.5-week-old daughter. Then we get to the part about his actress wife, Jane Russell, who's very famous, just before Marilyn Monroe, all this different stuff. And then how Bob was kind of a dick, cheated on Jane a whole lot, and Jane got pregnant and then needed a back alley abortion and couldn't have kids again. Wow. So I'm like slowing down as I read this, and they stay married after that and go back and forth. And I know some point in time, my mom, my wife, maybe my daughter will be like, "Oh, what was the first book you ever read to me?" I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna need something new. Because I cannot tell them about Bob Waterfield, who, like, again, Hall of Famer and played at, I think it was USC or UCLA, one of the two, is out in LA, all this different stuff. And like, there's a history there, and they knew all these famous people, and him and his wife would hold parties and all this different stuff. But like that part, very rocky, early part of their marriage, not great, but my daughter knows now. So there you go.
I want to, again, I'm going to the bookshelf. It might be hard for people to see this. That is my daughter. I think around the age of like 2.5. That is an NFL draft magazine.
Awesome.
At the beach with her Red Sox hat on, reading the draft magazine. So that was not the first thing I read to her. But she adopted it a little bit. She pays attention. She fires questions off at me from time to time. She was home for a nice week here at Thanksgiving, as was her brother. And I probably spoke about 20 words to her brother the entire time he was here, because he was never here. Boy, all the fellas were back home. So, they got to Tesla stuck a little closer to home with us.
I think I told you that last time. Was it you?
What? That he wasn't going to speak to me?
No. Well, he's not 21. So maybe it wasn't him. But like the night before Thanksgiving when you're in your early 20s and you go see and you go out and you drink and see, oh, everyone's back from high school and so. Wow, they look good. You know, like that whole deal that I've just aged out of. I don't think it was B though.
He'll be in that. I mean, he'll be in that category when he's legal. Not that that has stopped him from doing things in the past.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say when I first came back from college, I would work the door at the bar that I used to work at in Woods Hole on the Cape because that was the biggest night of the year. And of course, people would be whatever service comes and checks to make sure you're not serving underage people. And they were like, you know, everybody, you're on the door. And I'm like, I'm 5'9", 175 pounds. And they're like, don't worry about it. You just got to make sure that the people that are coming in are the legal people. Cause we would be, the amount of money you would make on that night, you turn, that's stupid money.
Woods Hole. That's where the ferry is, right? To go to Martha's
Vineyard? Right there. Okay. Captain Kidd.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. All right. I don't think we're going to do this next week because we won't have a game to break down, and you and I should deserve a little bye. What do you say?
I think that's a great idea, Andrew.
Very good.
The best one you've had.
Yeah, there it is. Knew that was coming. I don't have anything to let you have it. I do have to go. Yeah. I will have a solo episode later this week. All the mailbag questions. This was every question answered edition, by the way, which is always a very vulnerable place for me. Though this time I qualified at every football question answer because we don't do non-football. We just did non-football. But the point is, I just don't want to open myself up to, not answering something. Anyway, that'll be later this week. We'll have 2 episodes next week. We'll not be live, but full breakdown preview. Ty Dunn's going to come on the show to talk about the Bills and big inside story about the Patriots he did earlier this year. So enjoy the break. Maybe say 21 words to your son over the phone over the next few days since you'll have time to kill.
Probably not going to happen. He's too busy.
All right. Thanks, pal.
Always a pleasure.